Today is the 30th Sunday in Ordinary Time, and the theme of our gospel today is love of God and love of neighbor. I'm beginning to cherish this conflict that is arising between Jesus and the Pharisees, because through their traps, Jesus teaches us this ever-abiding message, this everlasting word, that when we imitate, when we abide by it, leads to eternal life. Today we read from the 22nd chapter of the Gospel of Matthew. And today's passage is actually the third of the conflicts Jesus had with them. The first was what we read last Sunday, when the Pharisees teamed up with their rivals, the Sadducees, to ask Jesus, is it good to pay taxes to Caesar? The second conflict actually was about resurrection. Why the Pharisees believed in resurrection, the Sadducees do not believe in resurrection. And that is why the Pharisees didn't join the Sadducees to come to ask Jesus about resurrection and about the woman who married 7 brothers and had no child for any. And they asked, at the end, at the resurrection, whose wife would she be? And hearing that Jesus already silenced the Sadducees, now these Pharisees come to ask, and this lawyer asks the question, which is the greatest of all commandments? It is important for us to note that from the 10 commandments, the Pharisees, who were scholars in the law, in the commandment of God, actually got 613 bylaws. And these were too many for the people to remember. So every good scribe always summarizes it for his listeners, for his followers. So it wasn't out of place for them to ask which is the greatest, so that once you begin to live with that, to live that greatest commandment, once you begin to apply them in your life, then you can say, oh, I have fulfilled all the laws and all the prophets. And Jesus took this man back to the Shema, which is in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4 to 5. What every Jew listens to, praise at the rising of the sun. When he wakes up from bed, from sleep, he kneels down to pray. Remember, Shema, listen, O Israel, the Lord your God is one, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your might and with everything in you. This is what Jesus answered this man. Love of God and love of neighbor. Loving God with everything in you. And then reciprocating that in the love of neighbor. Because these are two sides of the same coin. Love of God is expressed in a relationship attitude with others. And love of others, love of neighbor, becomes a way or something that leads us to love of God. So in John's letter will tell us, you cannot say you love God whom you do not see if you don't love your neighbor. The question we'll be asking ourselves is, what does this actually mean in practical terms? To love God and to love our neighbors.